Hi guys, today I'll be looking at a switch with a really long name, the Akko Creamy Yellow Pro V5. Let's get started. Now, the Akko Creamy Yellow Pro V5 is the successor to the Creamy Yellow Pro V3. Although the specs almost remain the same, there's very little differences between the two. Visually, the V5 doesn't have a dustproof stem while the V3 does. Additionally, the V5 has a slightly longer travel at 3.5mm as opposed to the V3's 3.3mm. Now, pricing wise, these go for £10 for 45 switches on Akko's website, placing these in the budget range. And this is what they look like when disassembled. Feel free to pause the video. Now let's move on to the switch characteristics. On-center key presses are smooth, with only light scratchiness and inconsistencies at very slow key presses. Off-center key presses are also the same, in fact they have very consistent performance in both key press types. Overall, these are very smooth with only the very best Hall effect switches able to beat them, 9 out of 10. Now, according to Akko, these switches have an actuation force of 50 grams at 2mm and a bottom out force of 55 grams at 3.5mm. Now, from the force curve I recorded, the Akko Creamy Yellow Pro V5 is well within spec. Plus, they were relatively consistent with only a minor deviation from Switch 3, which has a slightly heavier and longer travel downstroke wise, but they're all still within spec. Now, here's a force curve comparison between the Akko Creamy Yellow Pro V5 and the Akko V3 Cream Yellow. Their weighting is similar enough, with the V3 being heavier after about 0.8mm in both up and the downstroke. Now here it is against the Gatron Yellow. The Gatron Yellow starts off around 5 grams lighter but increases in weighting past 2.2mm where it eventually outweighs the V5. Overall, there were times I found them to be too light, but their consistency made up for it. And yes, the improvements over the V3 are noticeable, but I wouldn't say you need to upgrade from them. 7 out of 10. Now, these were clearly designed for a thocky build given their sound profile, and they didn't really suit my keyboard. Overall, if you're going for a thocky build, you should give these a chance. They sound quite decent, but would probably sound better in a build that suited them. 6 out of 10. Now, take a listen and enjoy. Now, typing on these was an absolute joy. The factory did a very good job of lubing them and their consistency was top notch. However, in some cases I did find them too light, but even with that said, I can happily type on them without making too many mistakes due to their consistency, which people tend to overlook, including myself, but it really shouldn't be. Overall, I was initially afraid that this was just a rebadged switch, but it isn't. There are noticeable improvements all around, and I can actually see myself using these as a daily driver if given the choice. 8 out of 10. Now let's first start off with slow-paced games, as this switch struggled here. So I'm not sure if this is due to the lubing or not, but there were slight hesitations and sluggishness when pressed down and released. It isn't the end of the world, just something to note. On the flip side, none of that was present in fast-paced games. In fact, the switch just sort of disappeared in the background, which is a good thing. It means it's performing well and not distracting me. Overall, they weren't too heavy or too light, and they would make for a really nice gaming switch assuming you're into fast-paced games. 8 out of 10. In conclusion, if you're still using old, scratchy linear switches, these are a solid upgrade, and they're very cheap as well. The final score for this switch is 38 out of 50 or 76%, ranking it among the very best linear switches I've reviewed. And that's it. Next time I'll be looking at a tactile switch. Until then, take care and goodbye.